whole meeting for the Elgin City Council for June 11th, 2025 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Alfaro.
Here.
Dixon.
Present.
Good.
Here.
Martinez. Here. Ortiz.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Stefan.
Here.
Thorne.
Here.
Mayor Captain.
Here. At this point, we need a motion from the council. Mr. Stefan would like to attend electronically, and we need a motion to allow him to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Move and second to allow Mr. Stefan to attend electronically. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro.
Yes.
Dixon.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Martinez.
Yes.
Ortiz.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Stefan.
Abstain.
Thorne.
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of May 28th, 2025.
Move for approval.
Second.
Move the second for approval. Any corrections or additions? Ms. Alfaro.
On page 2, under the Hill BMX tract, it does indicate that Councilmember Ortiz had made a motion to increase the non-resident rate to $7, but it should also include that a similar increase will apply to the season non-resident pass. So the entire motion is completed.
Okay. We need to amend the minutes of the meeting, then, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve with amendments.
Second.
A motion to move amended. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro.
Yes.
Dixon.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Martinez.
Abstain.
Ortiz.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Stefan.
Yes.
Thorne.
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 8-0 with one abstention. Public comment this evening. Do we have any? Uh-oh. Thank you. Okay, we have two people signed up for comment this evening, one on the agenda and one not. First person to sign up not on the agenda is Sherry Liskey.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'd like to make a short comment regarding support for the migrant community in our area. The deplorable, cruel tactics of the Department of Homeland Security and their tactical henchmen known as ICE is in direct violation of the concept of due process, which every person is entitled to. Our neighbors are here and across the country are subjected to abductions and kidnappings done in our name with our tax dollars. And when local people are protesting, they are called animals. Beware that this is the type of historical dehumanization that leads to banishment, disappearances, and annihilation. Denying a person's humanity is a step along the path of extinction. Bringing it back to Elgin, we must support our neighbors, their families, and their human rights. Our city celebrates its diversity in many ways. Let's now uplift and support each other in this time. Whether a family is a, quote, new arrival or has been here for generations, we need to ensure their safety and basic human right to exist and thrive. Make no mistake, we live in a land of abundance where each person can shine in the glow of their own talent and existence and in community with others. To change up a little bit, each person on the dais has an obligation to uphold the Constitution and the rights afforded to each and every person. Now, as in the recent and distant past, we need to hold our local government and their agencies, including the police, who are obligated to follow the Trust Act, accountable to the people, all of the people. Support our neighbors and the formal and informal groups and agencies that assist with their everyday needs and possible extraordinary nightmare. Remember, we are a welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one person signed up on the agenda for items on the agenda, Marcia Rodriguez.
is Marcia Rodriguez, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in Lexington and some of the concerns that I have, but I'm also very excited to learn more about the presentation tonight. So first and foremost, I do want to talk about the site selection and some of the mistakes that we've seen in that. And one of it has to do with the lack of due diligence to make sure that it was an appropriate site for the shelter to be placed. I also want to highlight the fact that EMSA was actually not informed about the shelter until after the vote was taken. So that happened in December. They were not informed about it until January. So I did notice that on some of the agenda items, they've been included as a informed party. They actually haven't been since inception of it, so I just want that to be clarified. Also, talk about conflicts of interest and ordinance avoidance. So this has been something that we've brought up many times regarding the amount of police calls to the site and the city's refusal to enforce a chronic nuisance ordinance. I just want to highlight the fact that the selective enforcement not only undermines the ordinance, but it jeopardizes its funding and questions the program's effectiveness and site sustainability, so resulting in the Lexington Inn being deemed non-compliant with grant requirements. There's also been a lack of transparency. I've made many requests to get information. I FOIA'd it as well, and either other parents have gotten no information, or I've been giving a request for extension 2 times already for something that was requested a month ago. So that is something that I have requested an update by Friday. If not, I'm going to be filing a complaint. And that would be with, obviously, the FOIA State Attorney's Office. There's also been, I think on the agenda, something about a closed session today. I just wanted to share that, obviously, that's allowed when discussing buying or leasing land or buildings, negotiating prices or terms of acquisition, determining the desirability or feasibility of a purchase, but that doesn't mean that you're able to make decisions or make any votes on. So I just want to highlight that in terms of closed sessions. Obviously, the public is not privy to that information, so I just wanted to say that. And also, if people are not ready to make decisions because there's not enough information being shared, you have the ability to sustain. And that's pretty much it. So thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy your day.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. First item this evening, I'm going to have Assistant City Manager Karina Nava and Executive Director of the Association for Individual Development, Lori Baker, come to the podium and provide the introductions for what we're going to hear this evening. Ms. Nava, Ms. Baker, thank you.
Hello, good evening. All right, Lori's going to have me talk. All right. So before we begin the presentation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge a special recognition that the City of Elgin received yesterday at the Home Illinois Summit, which is the state's annual homelessness summit. Christine Haley, the Chief Homelessness Officer for the state of Illinois, she presented Elgin with the recognition of service for local government, an honor given to a municipality that has made an outstanding contribution to its community. In her remarks, Chief Haley highlighted Elgin's proactive, compassionate approach to addressing homelessness, from creating a full-time homelessness response position in the city manager's office to expanding access to affordable housing and supportive services and implementing a trauma-informed, low-barrier housing model in response to the fires at Tent City. She emphasized that Elgin is setting an example for municipalities across the state. This recognition reflects the work of many, and I want to thank Mayor Captain and the City Council for their continued support and leadership in making this work possible. We also proudly share this recognition with all of our partners, in particular with Association for Individual Development, AID, whose team has been instrumental in supporting the participants and helping us create pathways towards stability and hope. And Lori, do you want to say anything? No? Okay, good, all good. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Homelessness Response Coordinator Jenna Henson and Deidre Trout, Director of Behavioral Health Services for AID, to share an update on the Unsheltered pilot project at the Lexington Inn and Suites. Thank you.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Captain, and community members. Tonight, I, along with Deidre, will be providing you with an update on the temporary housing project, also known as the Unsheltered pilot program that the city is partnering with AID for. It's been about 6 months since the fires occurred at Tent City. Our priority was getting Tent City residents to safety. This monumental feat of moving 42 people into the hotel involved numerous moving parts. City departments acted quickly to support the relocation effort with coordinated, compassionate action. From designing custom survey tools to securing and remediating the site, teams across police, IT, public works, parks, legal, and the city manager's office worked together to ensure the process protected individual rights. Food for Greater Elgin provided pantry items, Elgin Cooperative Ministries provided daily warm meals, and Elgin Township ensured those hot meals were delivered every day. PADS of Elgin, Community Crisis Center, Ecker Center, and of course the Association for Individual Development provided critical outreach and on-site support during move-in. Residents donated supplies and services, haircuts, personal care items, and food. Volunteers reached out to neighbors to gather anything that the clients needed to ensure a smooth, safe relocation. And while we successfully protected the safety of our most vulnerable, the task of addressing the devastating effects of poverty and homelessness remained. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Deidre Trout to give you some more information about our program.
Hi, thank you all so much for having me. My name is Deidre Trout. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with AID, the Association for Individual Development. I'm the Director of Behavioral Health Services for here in Northern King County, Elgin, and surrounding areas. So I came tonight to speak a little bit about the project that we have been working on and the opportunities that we've had. This project has truly assisted with closing the mortality gap for those who have experienced unsheltered homelessness with evidence-based housing first models. The outcomes are clear that when individuals are given shelter, a focus on other impacts deterring stable living and housing opportunities are able to then be addressed. Lives have been stabilized. We have provided safe, supportive living case management to 26 individuals and conducted outreach to 13 individuals with basic needs that were not addressed living unsheltered. 2 participants have moved into permanent supportive housing. One of them has moved into the Wildwood Commons building, which is owned by AID, and provided continued support for that individual to keep him housed. And then one has moved into a nursing care facility. 8 participants have maintained or improved physical health. No one has required psychiatric hospitalization since intake into this program. Several participants have started therapy for the first time in their lives, psychiatric care for the first time, and medication compliance has been maintained with this program. We have had 4 clients pulled from the statewide referral network, which is a housing list that allows individuals to be pulled into supportive housing opportunities. Another is actively on a wait list for the Housing Authority in DuPage County. 19 participants have actively engaged in weekly case management, and 25 are working on building essential social skills and basic activities of daily living for a critical foundation for long-term stability. When we talk about successes, there's more than one, but I would like to highlight that one of the individuals there had drug issues, and for the first time she is clean and she has passed a drug test with probation, and she has now been reunited with her children and has frequent visits since being sheltered, since having sheltered living. While we are still early in this pilot, the progress is real, and those are just some of the outcomes that I have been able to share with you. People are getting connected to services, stabilizing, and in some cases rebuilding their lives entirely. The work is only possible because of the shared vision and commitment to solutions that treat people with dignity and respect within our city. Thank you.
I will take the opportunity to say really quickly, Lori Baker from AID. This is a perfect example of how once people are housed who have been experiencing living outside for 10+ years, once they're able to not have to think every day about what they're gonna, where they're gonna lay their heads safely, if they're gonna have enough to eat, if they're gonna be safe at all, they're able to actively engage in the services and supports that they need to move their lives forward in the way that they want to. The person that was able to move into Wildwood Commons, these are all just like, heartwarming stories, and I know know people are concerned about folks that are there at the hotel, but I would say that I'm 100% sure that hotel was not a luxury destination for vacationers before. We moved folks in, right, that needed it. So at least now you know that there's proper support, there's security, there's ongoing, folks that are engaging with people, and I feel like that makes it a safer and better place in the community than it probably was before folks moved in there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Thank you, Deidre. So the information you just heard is more than just numbers and improvements. It's proof that small wins lead to big victories. Every small win reinforces self-esteem and self-belief that they have the ability to make progress and increases their confidence in their ability to achieve larger goals. These individual outcomes are part of the fluid movement of progress and change. All of these are small elements of our community mosaic, and that leads into a bigger system of transformative change. However, the reality we face is affordable housing remains scarce. Shelter capacity is limited in Elgin, and solutions do take time. There are fewer than 50 shelter beds available for individuals, and none of them are available on demand. That's why this pilot project wasn't just about providing shelter. It was about connection, connecting people to services, to benefits, to accurate data systems, like the statewide referral network and the Kane-Elgin continuum of care. For many tent city residents, this was the first time they were included in the formal housing system. That alone opens the door to long-term supportive housing that they previously had no access to. Still, even with vouchers and subsidies, progress depends on landlord participation. That's why the city hosted a landlord engagement fair in partnership with the COC, and over 70 property owners attended. That's a win for access and equity. This is long-term work, but we are seeing progress. We continue to explore ways to improve our response to poverty and homelessness, for ways to connect our community together for inclusivity, equity, and safety. Thank you for the investment you made in this pilot project, and it's leading to real outcomes. We thank you for your leadership and your support. I'll take any questions.
Okay, questions? Well, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you, too, for the presentation, Ms. Nava and Ms. Baker also. First, glad to hear we got an award from the state. I'm assuming that's a state organization that gave us the award that Ms. Nava presented, and all the work that for you've been doing, because we haven't been able to do everything that we have without AID. When it comes to some of the funds that we've got, it seems like our state representative is also on board with the program because she recently helped get us more funding for this. Is that with collaboration with AID also to help get that funding?
We are working with AID towards funding, yes, that is an active pursuit.
Okay. And I lost a train of thought. All right, I just want to talk about the funding, that we are getting more to help with this pilot program.
We are working towards that, yes.
All right, give me a minute. I got to get my thoughts back in order.
Way down this way, so far?
Thank you so much for sharing all that information. I love hearing the impact, especially the person that has been able to get clean and be back with their children. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I know you shared a little bit of the overall challenges in general with the housing and affordable. Can you share a little bit of the challenges you've seen with resources at the Lexington specifically? And just to understand a little bit more that
Sure.
I could see, I could hear the impact clearly. So I was just trying to get the other side to understand what are the challenges that you're seeing there.
Any challenges that we're seeing have been overcome, and none of them were insurmountable by any means. I think the one that stands out the most is because it was an emergency response and we had a lot to bring together. It took a couple of days to get the food delivered to the motel, but that has grown under the work of one of our community members, Greg Schiller. He's now the food pantry manager. We have Food for Greater Elgin, brings weekly deliveries. We have community members who bring food in. And we do special drives for like novelty food, catered items, things like that. So that's been addressed, and we have more and more resources coming in as we work.
So you don't see any other challenges at the moment?
So case managers are able to provide access to grocery stores. You know, they are able to take the individuals in the community and utilize benefits that are provided, like link cards and accessibility, you know, if they do have income. They are able to do their laundry. We take them out into the community, as we do with anyone in our supportive living case management programs, regardless of them participating in this program. If they are open to services, we are offering those supports for any individuals. Currently, right now, the barriers that I have observed and seen at the Lexington are those systematic barriers that overall are going to impact any other participant in the supportive living case management program. And that could be sheltered or unsheltered, the systematic barriers that, above and beyond housing, access to food, affordability of food, things like that. Those are barriers wherever you go. And none of those have really been accentuated because of that project specifically. They are just basic barriers for, unfortunately, anyone who's enrolled in our case management programs.
Thank you for sharing that, because I'm trying to get an overall picture of the challenges there and like the benefits, and how do we address if there are challenges given the systematic barriers. I was thinking more like transportation might be a barrier and other things, and like how can we as a city then work on addressing that, or working with community partners to address that. And so I was trying to get an image to that, so thank you.
Just to speak on transportation, we have several ways of addressing that. We have pace cards that are provided to the clients. The case managers will drive them. Also, community members have brought things in and driven clients too. So it's all been addressed.
Okay. Ms. Powell.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to our staff, AID, and all of the community partners that have assisted in this monumental task. Really excited about the award that we received. And I do have a couple of questions. I know you gave us some statistics, so if you did say this and I missed it, I apologize. What percentage of the participants are actually employed? Because I don't think people realize that so many of the folks that are unsheltered in our community actually work full-time jobs every day.
So I have what's called an HMIS report. It's the Homeless Management Information System. So it's aggregate data. I can only report it as it's given out to me. And at entry, so things may have changed, and Deidre could speak to this as the participants move through the program. But at entry, we had 8 with earned income and 34 with no income at all.
And then what kind of services or assistance are we providing the folks that don't have earned income? Are we providing them with employment assistance, training?
Deidre will be able to answer that, but I would like to say one thing, that a lot of our clients would qualify for disability, Social Security
SSI.
disability.
Okay.
And one of the qualifiers for that, for HUD programs, is chronic homelessness. You have to be disabled and homeless for over 1 year, and almost all of our clients fall into that category. So it's just a matter of applying and receiving those benefits. I met with Ecker Center, and they have a case manager that is SOAR certified. SOAR is an acronym that I cannot recall off the top of my head, but it's they're kind of like Social Security disability paralegal type case managers that are trained in what kind of documentation you need, what do you need to establish disability, and those applications are fast-tracked when they come through a SOAR certified case manager. So
Good.
that's just something that we have to have the time to see those results.
Glad to hear that they are fast-tracked. Having worked in that system for a while, I'm familiar with SSI, and it can take a long time. And I know a lot of people get denied initially and then have to reapply, which of course further extends the length of the process.
Yes.
So that's good to know. Can you address, and I'm not sure whether it's appropriate for, it's a question for you all, or if Chief Lally is here, some of the challenges, or where are we with some of the concerns security-wise and police calls? Have they gone down? Where are we with that?
So any kind of particular analytics about calls for service, I don't have at my disposal right now. We could, of course, could get that for you. But speaking from my experience, since we contracted with the private security, I speak with them weekly, if not every other day. I send them lists of who's there. I've gone with them when they've done room checks, so we are in constant communication. They know the clients as if they were case managers now, to be quite honest. They recognize them. I have not had any issues since they've been there, and they have not reported any major issues at all. So that's from my experience without the police report.
Thank you.
Deidre, have anything to say about that?
No, I was just going to state that some of the outcomes that were provided to me, I'm from the direct supervisor of the program, 3 clients have gained income or employment since they moved into sheltered living. And so in our traditional supportive living case management, we work with individuals who are applying for SSDI, and we walk them through that process with, some trained in the SOAR model, as Jenna had expressed, but most of the time it's going through that process and working with collaborations like disability lawyers to make sure that they are approved or not denied for those specific reasons that we can be able to assist with.
And I also have a colleague who's a social security disability lawyer who has volunteered to come out and provide assistance if needed.
Great. Great, thank you.
Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, everybody who's been involved in this process. So I just want to try and paint a picture of that this is obviously a housing acute situation, and I think you had mentioned the state referral list. I want to clarify that. There's been 2 people who have been placed, and there's 4 people that are currently on that list.
So 4 people were pulled that are our clients. So for those of you who don't know, I'll give a very brief explanation of the statewide referral network. Any development that goes up that receives low-income housing tax credits, there is a required set-aside of affordable housing units for people placed on that statewide referral network. Generally, that is extremely low income, homeless, or imminently at risk of homelessness. So when you get assessed and you get on that list, they will pull your name. Since they moved in, they got put on that list, and already 4 of them, 10% of our population, has been pulled from that list. So it really is evidence that once you connect people to the existing resources and systems there, they can access them. It just took the combined efforts of the council and our providers and the clients trusting us to come together to be able to lead them to some of those resources.
Okay, so if I heard you correct, they've all been helped out to get on the list, and
Yes,
4 have been pulled
yes,
to the okay.
absolutely. And there's also another list, coordinated entry, which is for the local Kane County continuum of care, and we've had people pulled up on that list as well. So it's just a matter of time of lease up, application. It's not like you get pulled and move in the next day. It takes a little bit of time.
And I think I've heard the stat before. I think in Kane County, we have less than 1% vacancy. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that, housing is an issue for a lot of people right now, and we are at a pinch point where we just don't, like, I think you said we have 50 beds open, nothing on demand.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, yes. The actual terminology for emergency shelter, we don't have it as emergency. It does require an initial intake and assessment, and then you can have access if there is a bed available.
And can you even guess as to how long it's going to take for folks on that list to work through
I
and
couldn't
find
speak
housing?
to that. I
Okay.
couldn't, yeah.
Figured I would ask. Thank you.
Everybody back down this way. Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again for the presentation. What I've been asked is the individuals that went to Lexington, the priority was given to people that came from Tent City.
Correct.
And the priority was also given to people that are Elgin residents?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dixon.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for AID, Executive Director, Ms. Baker, for all of your work in not just now in the pilot program, but over the years, and building what I think is just a magnificent facility there on 31. And hearing everything today, I'm actually, well, not actually, I'm very pleased.
Thank you.
To hear about some of these outcomes, which is what it's all about. And I just want to put a couple of things in perspective, and please feel free to add where necessary. Employment, when it comes to employment, you have 3 people have been able to find jobs, right? And just to put that in perspective, that's actually pretty good in working with this population. I work in this field, and so I know how difficult it is to get someone to a place of stabilization where they can even hold down the job.
Yes.
So, you know, when people are homeless, when people are experiencing poverty, it's not as simple as getting a job. There are so many other barriers that most people walk around with, that most of them walk around with that we can't even imagine. So 3 is actually really good.
Yes.
So I want to say, you know, congratulations and thank you for that.
Thank you. And, you know, the success story that Deidre shared, that woman really is glowing.
Yeah.
You know, I wish that you all could see them and see the humanity that we see every day, because she's just excited for life. I met her mother. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And, you know, I know we're just piloting, but, you know, I would love to see the increase, you know, because it's working. And as long as it's working, let's increase it. And so shout out to State Representative Anna Moeller for the money she was able to secure. That's going to go a long way in helping this.
Absolutely.
And while I'm giving a shout out, Assistant City Manager, Mrs. Nava, for all of your work over the years. And now you have the support that you've always wanted. And so happy to see you smile about that. Couple of programs I'm just curious if you're utilizing, because it's been said before, but this, what we're experiencing here in Elgin is happening here in Elgin, but we actually know this is a county-wide issue, right? So we pay into a program called Ride and Cane. I think we pay $50,000 a year. We talked about transportation. Are they utilizing this service at all?
I think that would be more of a day-to-day programmatic question she could answer better.
Sure.
So we do utilize that service for applicable participants who are able to pay the marginal fee. I believe that, you know, there is still fees attached to it. And some of those rides, just to be clear, I've worked in the Elgin area in supportive services for several years, and they're sometimes not as reliable as they would intend to be, which is very challenging. But also utilizing the bus routes and working with case managers to really navigate that, and what resources are available to them have been incredibly beneficial with kind of that barrier for transportation.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And there's another system that one of our departments, the health department, created. It's the IRIS system. So, you know, how is that working? I know I use it in my job at the sheriff's office, but what has been your experience? Is it working on your end?
So yes, this is more for my intake coordinator, because we do receive referrals from IRIS, and we were actually acknowledged for our referrals and the capacity to be able to then provide services to those referrals in a pretty rapid pace, comparatively speaking. But, you know, I think with that referral program, you know, they typically refer individuals to supportive services, and then we kind of take it from there to see if they are applicable for that, and that's a person-centered kind of you know, question, dependent on if that referral to us is going to be appropriate for services, regardless of if they are in this participating project or overall in our services.
And in this system, you can be the agency that does the referring, or you can receive referrals. So I'm assuming that we're not receiving referrals, we're using the system. Well, we're putting in referrals and not receiving referrals. Does that make sense?
So we receive the referrals.
We receive the referrals from our residents that are at the Lexington.
And then my staff receives those referrals.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
And then we are able to then provide, so my intake coordinator has access to the IRIS referral network, and then he logs into it to make sure that we are reaching out to everyone that has been then
provided to us.
Okay, and that's just being done on the AID side, not the city side?
Kane County did offer it to us when we received that grant.
Okay.
And it could be in the city of Elgin's name.
Sure.
But since AID already had it, it was a duplication of services.
Okay, I gotcha. I understand the duplication of services, especially in this field. You can't waste anything.
We don't have the time or the money to spare.
So I definitely get that. But I think it's still good to be signed up to stay in touch with that system because it is pretty awesome. So
I will
that's
follow
just
up
my
on
2
that.
cents. All right. And lastly, the success stories, just overall, I'm really happy to hear about those. And I received a postcard. I might have been from Ecker, I don't know, but it showed a success story on a postcard. They're raising some money, and so they had a photo op, and it had one of the individuals that was a success story, and they kind of talked about that. And those type of things are really impactful and powerful, and so possibly doing something like that and placing it on our city's website to the particular page that we have to talk about those success stories is something that may, I just think that telling that good news and telling the story yourself or ourselves is always better than the narrative being driven from elsewhere. So just wanted to bring that up.
No, that's great feedback.
All
Thank
right.
you.
But other than that, terrific work, great job. Thank you, city staff, for all of the years of work that you've put towards this. And again, thank you, AID. And so thank you. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you, Council.
Anything else? Mr. Ortiz?
All right.
Remember he came back.
All right, round 2, yeah.
You remember now.
Now I have a slight migraine. That's why I started concentrating on my heartbeat instead of what I was talking about. So going back to the funding part. So we've gotten some few emails over the past months about how we extended it until October, August. That extension happened, correct me if I'm wrong, because we got more funding. So the original allotment hasn't been used yet because we've been using grant money to extend the stay. So the extra money from when we started the program is what we're going to use at the end of the stay, which extended it until the fall.
That does sound correct. So yes, there was additional grant funding that we received. So there's been multiple funding sources, and in which order they were spent may have moved, but it was a new grant that we received.
Okay, but it's all above the table. Nothing's bad about how we're doing this.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, that was my period on my statement until my headache got me. All right, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, one final comment. I went to the event yesterday in the presentation of the award, and there were over 600 people there from around the state, different jobs. We had one gentleman that had been previously homeless got an award, but the special part here is that they selected the city of Elgin and said that our efforts here are going to be an example for many, many organizations around the state. And we did a video afterwards. I did a video interview, and that's going to be shared with people, talked about the successes, talked about some of the challenges that we have. I have to say that Mr. Kozal couldn't make it. He had a better offer yesterday, and couldn't attend the luncheon. But kudos go out to him as well. When this issue arose, he stepped up and organized and started us moving. This goes back to last December. And tremendous progress. This is a successful program. It's been deemed successful by the people that were there and professionals. That says a lot. It says a lot for the staff that's here. City Council plays a role, but the legwork is done out there in the field by you people. And I congratulate you, and you deserve all the credit in the world. Ms. Baker, same for AID. Good partnerships. Some of them were transitional, and I talked briefly when we accepted the award about Elgin Township. When we needed transportation, they stepped up and offered transportation to people from Tent City and helped get them to the new location. They brought food when it was needed at the beginning and got us through a transition. And the point here is that we learn as we go along, and we're polishing this thing up and making it a better service. And I think that's the key. And how we move forward to the future is going to be determined by today. And I think that was recognition is going to pay us dividends around the state and with funding agencies, because they're going to look at us as a place that they know the money will be well spent and we are getting results. So that is a significant thing for this community. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Ms. Baker, for yours, and Ms. Nava for you as well.
Thank you, Mayor Captain.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Item B is, these are resolutions for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code. This is pertaining to the Highland Woods 2025 resurfacing project. The resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code, often called an MFT construction resolution, identifies the city's plans for allocating either its motor fuel tax funds or Rebuild Illinois funds for the construction engineering services and attendant construction-related projects relating to the improvement. Typically, only one resolution is required by the Illinois Department of Transportation per project, but in this instance, the city is using both MFT and RBI, Rebuild Illinois funds, to cover the anticipated project costs. So this is the reason we have two separate resolutions for approval. With these resolutions, staff are presenting the project limits and scope of the work for the 2025 Highland Woods resurfacing project, along with the estimates of cost for construction and the construction engineering services related to this project. Public Services Director Mike Pubens is here to answer any questions the City Council may have.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Mr. Ortiz.
Mr. Pubens. If I go a little slow, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I was speaking to the city manager about this item only because of the neighborhood it's in. How did you, so I went over to Highland Woods a few weeks ago during their community garage sale days, and the roads seemed pretty good, but I wasn't analyzing the road surface down Highland Woods Boulevard and all the side streets that you had identified.
Right.
And I went over again this afternoon during lunch. I noticed that they are deteriorating, but not to the effect of some of our inner roadways within like the center city of Elgin. How did Highland Woods get identified to get replaced this year instead of maybe some other streets? Is it underground infrastructure that still needs to be done, or is it just that neighborhood's time to get their streets done?
Yeah, thank you. In some cases, we delay projects, resurfacing projects for underground infrastructure. Walnut Avenue is probably the poster child for that. We've been holding off on that as we've, worked through our comprehensive water and sewer plan. We're to the point now where we have a multi-year plan, at least a draft of it, but enough certainty to know that we won't be doing underground on Walnut for 5 years. So we'll be moving that roadway into next year's road program for resurfacing. But that's a street that we've been holding off on because, I'll tell you a short story if I can. My first month here, former water director Eric Weiss and our city engineer Ron Rudd and I went out and had lunch. They were showing me the town, and they drove me down a street, and I apologize, I cannot remember the name. And they called the street the Zipper because it was a newly paved street that 1 year later we did an underground project on and trenched right down the middle of it. That was patched, right? But you can imagine the inefficiency, the public perception of the city resurfacing a street, putting new curbs, everything in, and then the very next year coming and digging it back up. So at that point, we put it's an unofficial, it's just based on experience, we said we're gonna use about a 5-year time frame. That if we think we're going to do underground work within 5 years, unless the road is just in horrible condition, we'll hold off on paving it. And that's what we've been doing with Walnut. Again, we're not at the point where we know that there are going to be other sanitary sewer projects that are going to precede that Walnut Avenue stretch. So we'll move that into the queue for next year. So again, that's kind of a special case. We don't have too many of those. But generally, we use a combination of elements. It starts with we use a system developed by the Federal Highway Administration. It's a program, it looks at surface conditions, it looks at subsurface conditions. It breaks a long roadway down into segments, so it doesn't rate it from end to end in segments, and you can attack that in any manner that we choose. But ultimately, it determines or develops what's called a pavement condition index. So that's the technical approach to it. We also put into the mix, we try to look for contract efficiencies. So let's say we have 30 blocks of roadway that we're going to resurface. If we simply follow the output from that program and start with the lowest rated and work our way up, we could have 30 blocks spread out across the entirety of the city. That can be done, but it adds significantly to the contracting costs because the contractor's coming in, doing one block, picking up all their equipment, moving, picking up, moving. So we try to group streets that are of similar condition into projects. So the Highland Woods project is a good example. We started out, the main focus of that is Highland Woods Boulevard and Peregrine Way, actually, which is at the very northwest end, is in very poor condition. But we saw that as an opportunity. There were some other streets that maybe not as low as some others in town, but low enough that we would consider them good candidates for resurfacing. And we put those together in one project, again, to get some contractual and cost efficiencies. A third element of the process that I've employed, and again, this is not really a technical strategy, but is to try to distribute resources in the form of paving dollars across the community. So I think if you look back at our program, I started in, when did I start, Rick? 2018. So I came in as senior engineer and picked up.
Time flies when we're having fun.
It does. Oh, my hair back then. Well, maybe not, but I think what you'll see, I'm sorry, joking aside, but I think what you'll see if you review past programs, and I was hoping to get some exhibits together, is you'll see that we have, I think, a very good distribution of our local road program, which is, when I started, I think it was 6 million. We're up to 8.5 million now across the community. And then on top of that, we've had some opportunities for additional projects like community development block grant funded projects. We did a few years of those. Those were very specifically targeted towards neighborhoods that traditionally got fewer resources committed to them. Early on when I started, we focused on Upper and Lower Wellington. Some of you may remember that project. It had been ignored for 30 plus years, and some concerns that might have been because of the location, and there was, Lower Wellington has 20 houses on it maybe, and it's a dead end, all that. So we've been incorporating that concept too, that we try to distribute the funds throughout the community.
All right, thank you, appreciate it, Mr. Pubens.
If I could just say too, the project you're seeing tonight is the first of 3. We're gonna have 3 contracts for our local program this year. This one is coming first because, as Manager Kozel mentioned, we're using Rebuild Illinois funds. There is an appropriation deadline coming up, so working with IDOT can be tricky. You got to get your forms done properly and in at the right time. So we didn't want to cut that deadline too close, so I asked to get that one first. But we'll have 2 others, one that focuses significantly on the areas south of Wing Street off of McLean, and then some on the east side, Anderson Avenue, Bent Street, down in that neighborhood.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're paving Anderson. I think it's been gravel since I remember.
Well, I think that's a good example of that concept of, if we only looked at the very technical aspects of Anderson, there's not many users on Anderson. It's an industrial use, right? So it's not, you don't have people, kids come, not people, there's people working in those industries, families, kids, right? It's not a typical neighborhood street. So that one, I think, has been, throughout the years, very easy to say, it's fine, it's gravel, it's just large trucks and that type of thing. But again, kind of trying to take an overall view, and again, right, those properties pay taxes just like everyone else, so it was an opportunity to make that repair.
All right, I appreciate your explanation. In the past, you've mentioned about like a study that we do like every 5 or 10 years about road quality. Are we going to start that over again, or are we still like somewhere in the middle of the last one that we have?
It's a roadway inventory and ranking system, and that's that system that I mentioned is based off the Federal Highway Administration. Micropaver is the name of the program that the feds came up with. We did that in 2019, and typically there's about a 3 to 5 year window depending on the community. It's not a hard and fast rule. So ours is getting a little bit older, so we'll be going on 6 years here. So we're considering doing it. It got put on the side burner as we had an engineer on staff who was really focused on that. He's pursuing a different career now, so, but you may see something in this year's budget.
Okay.
If that was a promise, right? Is that a budget promise for me?
As long as you fix long enough for the neighborhood over there.
No, I'm kidding. And quite honestly, since we did that inventory and ranking in 2019, with the onset of artificial intelligence, the whole landscape for doing those types of inventories and rankings has changed. There are systems now where I could mount my iPhone on the dash, drive around town, put it into the AI software, and it would give me, predictive model of basically condition and rankings. Some of those are really good. Some of them maybe not so good.
You got to use that app driving down Walnut, see what it gives you. Just out of curiosity.
Mr. Neal and Mr. Cosentino are working on a pilot program to do a small area of town. They're going to focus on pothole identification.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So it'll be a good test for us to see how well, right? It's a controlled area. It's not too big, so we can do the AI analysis of it and then go and, I'm an old timer. I still want to go out and lay eyes on it myself, but again, another tool. So we're doing some investigation on what the best process. One big advantage of those models is they are much less expensive. The system that I used last time is on the higher end, and it's very detailed, gives you great data. It's expensive, and it almost requires to have staff dedicated to understanding it and using it.
Okay.
So again.
All right, we appreciate your
pros and
time,
cons.
Mr. Pubens.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anything else from Mr. Pubens?
No?
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion is approved 9-0.
Item C is an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the maintenance of certain state-owned roadways within the city. The city's current 10-year intergovernmental agreement with IDOT is expiring. IDOT is proposing to renew this agreement for a new 10-year period running from July 2025 through June 2035. Under the proposed agreement, the city will continue to provide basic maintenance services on specific state routes, and that includes maintenance surface repairs, pothole patching, street sweeping, snow and ice control, litter collection, and mowing of the right-of-ways. In return for these maintenance services, IDOT will be providing quarterly payments to the city totaling an estimated $1.3 million over the proposed 10-year agreement term. The state routes covered under the agreement include Illinois routes 19, 25, 31, and 58. It also includes small portions of both Bluff City Boulevard and Page Street. U.S. Route 20 remains excluded from the agreement terms and has been not part of past agreements. The state will continue to retain full responsibility for capital improvements, roadway reconstruction, and resurfacing projects. And this agreement enables the city to continue providing localized, timely maintenance on key state routes while being fairly compensated for the work that's being performed.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion is approved 9-0.
Item D is the acceptance of a grant from Elgin Township for the Youth Empowerment Program soccer programming. Police Department in 2021 developed a new program providing more robust response to juvenile violence and prevention. It's called the Youth Empowerment Program, or YEP. yet provides a robust response to juvenile outreach, prevention, and intervention, working with departmental personnel, community members, and community partners. This year, the police department is seeking to provide a structured soccer program to augment YEP and provide a safe and supportive environment where at-risk youth can develop teamwork, discipline, and leadership skills. And as I mentioned earlier, Elgin Township is extending a grant in the amount of $6,412 to the city for these purposes.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call a roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Steffen?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
All right, Mayor, council members, bear with me. I want to talk about items E, F, and bid number 4 on the regular council agenda because they're all related. And these initiatives all pertain to the proposed Wing Park Clubhouse design. Item E is an amendment to the existing agreement with the architect for this work, and item F is an amendment to the existing agreement for the construction manager for the work. Both of these agreements contemplate fees for the professional services that are based on the total project costs. The bid for the golf course work came in about a little bit less than $1 million over budget. So because of the additional project costs, the existing agreements with our architect and construction manager require attendant increases in the fees that they will be performing for that additional work. So with that introduction, I'll introduce item E. This is the amendment to the existing agreement with FGM Architects for the construction of the new clubhouse, the Wing Park Golf Course. This is an increase of $95,364, consistent with the terms of the existing agreement.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? So far.
Yeah, I had a question for staff. If it's requesting $95,364 as Amendment 3, but there wasn't a breakdown of what exactly, where all the funding is going exactly, or is it all to the architectural design? And the other ones, we had a breakdown of different things, but this one did not have a breakdown of the $95,364.
And it's a calculation that the fees are based on what the estimated project costs are. So the $95,000 is the sum of the formula within the agreement that requires the attendant increase in payment because of the additional $1 million in project costs.
So it's basically just paying, it's like the fee we're paying?
That's it exactly.
Okay.
That is it exactly.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Okay, anything else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Steffen?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item F is the amendment to the existing agreement with Lamp Incorporated for the construction management services that it's providing at the golf course. This is in the amount of $54,973. And as many of you know, Lamp Incorporated is a longtime Elgin-based business.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Steffen?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0.
Item
At this time, I think I'd entertain a motion to adjourn, and we have a couple of housekeeping things we have to take care of here in the intermission. So entertain a motion to adjourn. We'll reconvene with the regular council meeting at about 7:10.
So moved.
Second.
Move and second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Steffen?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, we are adjourned. We'll reconvene with the regular council meeting at 7:10. Did we lose Ms. Powell? We'll call a regular meeting for the Elgin City Council to order for June 11th, 2025. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Alfaro,
Present.
Dixon,
Present.
Good,
Here.
Martinez,
Here.
Ortiz,
Here.
Powell, Stefan,
Here.
Thorne,
Here.
Mayor Captain.
Here. At this time, we need a motion to allow Mr. Stefan to participate electronically.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Stefan,
Abstain.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0 with one abstention. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of May 28th, 2025.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. Any corrections or additions? Ms. Alfaro?
In the minutes on page 1, it indicates that the minutes for May 14th were amended, but it doesn't indicate what was amended. And so if someone would just pull the minutes and read this, they wouldn't know exactly what was amended in those minutes. So if we could note that it was amended, 2 votes were amended to indicate that they were contingent on approval from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay, a motion to approve the amended minutes.
Move for approval?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Abstain.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0 with one abstention. Ms. Pollitt. Okay, brings us to public comments, and communications. We have one petition, Mr. Dixon.
Yep. I will be reading the proclamation for Juneteenth. If there are any members of the community who would like to stand in representation of Juneteenth, please join me at the podium to your right. The proclamation reads, whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed an Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring all enslaved people shall be free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation, Union soldiers descended upon Galveston, Texas, where the last enslaved African Americans lived, and shared the delayed news that the Civil War had ended and the enslaved were free. And whereas Juneteenth is a nationally recognized holiday, also known as Freedom Day, commemorating the emancipation of the enslaved African Americans in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth observations are held throughout the nation, and June 19th is a symbolic date offering an opportunity to reflect on the tragic loss of Black lives and the persistent racial inequalities in our society. It also encourages us to build community and have an open dialogue and respect for all cultures while representing African American freedom, equal rights, and unity in the United States of America. Now, therefore, I, Corey Dixon, City Councilman in the City of Elgin, Illinois, do hereby proclaim June 19, 2025 as Juneteenth in the City of Elgin, and we salute all organizations, including AACKC, the African American Coalition of Kane County, that is, in their praiseworthy missions to raise awareness for equal justice, dignity, rights, opportunities for all, celebrating our community, continual progress, and commitment towards eliminating racial inequalities.
Thank you, Councilman Dixon. Okay, I'm gonna try not to get a little too emotional here, so. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and fellow residents of Elgin. I stand before you today not only as a proud citizen of this city, but as a representative of people whose story, whose struggle, whose triumph is inseparable from the story of America itself. We gather this month in recognition of Juneteenth, a date now federally recognized as Juneteenth National Independence Day. But let us be clear, this is not just an African-American holiday. It is an American holiday, a day that tells the truth of what freedom has cost and what it continues to require. Even though July 4th, 1776 declared independence for the United States, June 19th, 1865 delivered a long-delayed promise of that independence to those for whom liberty was denied, the longest Black American descendants of slaves. For nearly 2.5 years, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. Thousands of African Americans in Galveston, Texas remained enslaved. Unaware they had already been declared free, Juneteenth marks that day. It marks that day that they were aware of their freedom and the promises that they thought that America was going to deliver to them. In recognizing Juneteenth, we are not rewriting history, we are completing it. We are saying that freedom delayed is still worth celebrating when it finally comes, that every American story deserves space on the calendar. That true patriotism means not only remembering our victories, but learning from our failures. In Elgin, a city that strives for inclusion and progress, let us continue to uplift Juneteenth with the same dignity and public reverence as we do July 4th. Not as a competing narrative, but as a complementary truth, that two dates that together tell the full story of our nation's journey toward freedom. Let Juneteenth be a time of reflection, of education, of celebration, and most of all, of justice for all. Because the work of freedom is never finished, and America is never fully free until all its people are free. Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to the portion where people have opportunity to make public comments on items on the agenda or not. First person to sign up is Ishmael Cordova.
Hello, Mayor, City Council, and community. My name is Ishmael Cordova Clough, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the work that I've been doing. I've been doing a lot, but most importantly, I am currently a graduate student at Northwestern University, where I'm studying to get my master's in public policy and administration. I'm one of 10 students that were accepted into Northwestern's Accelerated Master's in Public Policy program, and I have dedicated my last capstone thesis to the City of Elgin's homeless response initiatives. What I plan on doing in the next 10 weeks, as I have been doing in my preliminary work, I've been investigating how the City of Elgin has been navigating their homeless response initiatives and how it compares to other comparable communities in the city and across the country. I actually just returned from San Diego, where I got to do some research on their innovative homeless response initiatives as well. I'm here to extend the invitation to formally meet with me and talk about these programs from your perspectives. I think it's very important because in the experiences that I've had before this meeting, I've had mixed messages about what is working and what is not working. And that's not to take away from the strong successes that the city has implemented and incorporated in their homeless response. It just that it seems inconsistent. I think it's really important to identify that qualitative work in the feeling and the lived experiences of the individuals facing homelessness is vital to understanding how we pivot in the future. These pilot programs are much more than the numbers or the funder requirements that we see on paper. And I think the experiences that I've had while working in the warming shelters, while dropping off food at Lexington Inn and Suites, and meeting with people informally, is that the stories that we're telling in a city component is not matching the experiences that they're facing. The insecurity of the pantry not being open because there's no workers or case managers there present as required. The inability to travel within the community because if they lose their Pace Bus card, they're not allowed to have a replacement. The inability to have the privacy in their room because they feel like it was violated by changing from the police department to the security to be able to breach their privacy without a warrant. I think these are all things that are vital to understanding how we view homeless response initiatives beyond the numbers. So I would love to meet with you, and this is not to say that there's certain things that the city is doing wrong. There's just things that we can all find opportunities for growth and improvement. I look forward to extending and meeting with all of you at some point in the upcoming weeks, and I look forward to coming back after my completion of my program to give you the findings of my own research. Thank you.
Mr. Cordova, have you met with staff? Have you met with Ms. Henson and Ms. Nava? They've been involved in this from the beginning. That's okay.
Okay, I was like, I have 17 seconds. Okay,
Yeah.
but yes.
No, I'm asking you a question. So I
yeah,
just want to make sure we just had a presentation from them, make sure they're the professionals at this and they have on the ground experience to answer your questions more than we do.
I do not disagree that obviously they're professionals, and I've had the opportunity to meet with Jenna. It took a little while to get that meeting off the ground. I had to reach out about 4 or 5 times via email, and thankfully it seems that the city staff was able to respond after that 5th response, and I was able to meet with her for about a little over an hour and got some initial information, and she did give me access to a lot of the data that I needed to do my preliminary findings and my first literature review for my courses, and that conversation is still ongoing.
Okay.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you. Representatives from the AACKC wish to speak, or have you all done? Andre Hodges?
How you doing, Mayor, Council? I'm Andre Hodges, a member of the community. Mayor, I've been in, I don't know the term I want to use, but I've been involved in community for more than 25 years, free of service. 2014, I took the cheerleaders down and won 3 national championships. I got 2 championships with the basketball team. Football, I've coached, and now I'm having issues with just regular situations on doing community events in the park. And I'm not understanding why. Is the city council head of parks, recreations? Is park recreations the head of that? Because it seems like when you want to do something good for the community, money's diverted one way. If you want to do something else for the community, then there's nothing for you, or you're being forced or pushed out of a situation that you've been doing. I've been holding free concerts since 2017 in Wing Park here. The We in the Basement Community Get Down. For whatever reason now, it's become a major issue. I've never had an incident, no violence, no situation, but I want to know, why is there opposition on what I'm doing for the community if everything I've done is for free? That's my main problem. Why is there resistance, and why does it feel like I'm being shoved out of the city? So I need to know who's in charge of all this.
Okay. Mr. Manager, do you give them some direction here?
I know that you've been in contact with the Director of Cultural Arts and Special Events, Amanda Harris, so we can provide the staff's perspective to the City Council. And I know that Ms. Harris and her staff are still willing to talk to you about the scheduling that's necessary for you to conduct your event.
But I've tried that, and it's like I come down here, I'll put in an application. I'm sitting in the office before anybody even in the building. I've sent emails. I get that application. Now I want to bring people, I don't care if it's Taylor Swift, I have access to anybody now. I could literally turn Elgin to the mecca of concerts for people to enjoy. This is for free. This is not for pay for anybody in the community. This is called the community get down. I've tried that. Until last night, it's my first response from January. I'm trying to hold an event August 30th or 31st. I can't promote, I can't get the people here when I'm being held against time. It's like I'm being put off for whatever reason. So what you're saying, I've done, and I have paperwork to prove it.
And we have paperwork on our part as well. I'll provide a summary to the city council. I'll have additional discussions with Ms. Harris, and we'll get back to you to see if we can resolve what the differences are.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to bids. First item is bid number 25-011, ballistic helmets purchase.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we give this bid to Ray O'Haron Company in the amount of $120,868.
So moved. I will second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Dixon?
Yeah, are we going to have a demonstration tonight? No?
Hope not.
No? Okay.
I'm not volunteering.
Okay.
Anything else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez? Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 2 is bid number 25-012, ballistic vest rifle plates purchase.
Move to award the bid to Ryan O'Hara and Company for the purchase of ballistic vest rifle plates in the amount of $64,892.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 3 is bid number 25-024, rifles and associated equipment purchase.
Mayor, I'll move that we award this a PAI Defense for rifles and associated equipment purchases in the amount of $51,723.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, the motion is approved 9-0. Bid number 4 is bid number 25-034, Wing Park Golf Course New Clubhouse.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we award this contract to Lamp Incorporated for the amount of $4,169,180.50.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Alfaro?
Thank you. I think these are some amazing upgrades that Wing Park will get. I do like that we're going to be moving to electrical vehicles for the carts. That's amazing. Thank you to staff for implementing that, as well as putting an event space that could bring revenue to the city. One of the questions I had for staff is that there's going to be a possibly food vendor that would be serviced out, indicated on page 43, and I just wanted to ensure that we'll RFP that out as a request for proposal to ensure that other businesses in Elgin could potentially apply for that if they would like to be that vendor.
That is the plan.
Okay. Good.
Can
Anything
we
else?
share a little, I know it goes in the Daily Herald, but not everyone reads the Daily Herald. Is there other ways that we'll be sharing that information to ensure the businesses around here? Like, can we ask the Downtown Neighborhood Association, the Chamber, to share that information out?
Sure, and I can also, Golf Director Mike Lehman is here in the back, and he can talk about the process that he uses from outreach. I know that he's even had preliminary discussions with a number of vendors that have expressed an interest in this, but he can provide, I think, the additional context for what you're looking for. Good evening, Mr. Lehman.
Good evening.
Thanks for the question. The RFP for food service operator for the Wing Park Clubhouse, it was approved, has already hit the streets, and we are evaluating the vendors at this time. So we did have 3 respondees, and very excited about the opportunities to do something a little bit different to generate revenue for the golf course and for having a great amenity at Wing Park.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Ortiz.
Just hope you enjoy your new $4 million building. I know it's going to be awesome. I know Mr. Thorne over here is going to be there every day, soaking up the golfing range over there.
I'll try not to spend the contingency, so try to keep that below 4.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 5 is at Adventure Island at the center of Elgin, 3-meter-high dive stairs and safety improvements. It's a job order contract.
Move for approval to award it to PF Fashion for the replacement of a 3-meter-high diving ladder with stairs for safer diving tower structure in the amount of $185,006.
Second.
That's an
Been moved.
expensive ladder.
Been moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion?
Is the city manager going to demonstrate this for us?
They're making the stairs for me. I haven't made it off the high dive yet, so this is making it just so I don't fall off when I come back down.
That's the whole point, to get scared as you climb up.
That's it. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 6 is Lords Park Family Aquatic Center longevity and safety renovations, another job order contract.
Mayor, I'll move that we award this to FH Passion for the comprehensive renovation project at Lords Park Family Aquatic Center in the amount of $291,843.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Item 7 is a police station locker room design, another job order contract.
Yes, Mayor. I move that we approve a contract with FH Passion in the amount of $85,500.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, the motion's approved 9-0. Brings us to other business. The first item is consideration of petition 08-25 for 1375 Gifford Road, an amendment to the plan development to allow the expansion of outdoor storage for a manufacturer of concrete infrastructure products and equipment. Mr. Malat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located at the northeast corner of Gifford and Spalding Roads. Here is Gifford, and this is Spalding. This is the Waste Management Transfer Station, the south end of Copart. Will Scott is here. You may remember them coming before City Council last year for a building addition and substantial site improvements. And these are Heron's Landing, Bluff City Materials, Midwest Compost, and Vulcan Materials, all within the village of Bartlett. Old Castle Infrastructure, a manufacturer of concrete infrastructure projects, is requesting approval to expand the outdoor storage of their products at their 41-acre property. The property has been partially occupied by a concrete infrastructure manufacturer since 1997, when the city approved a 50,000 square foot manufacturing plant and commercial operations yard. The proposal includes the installation of about 5,000 feet of 8-foot high privacy fence around the property and extensive landscaping outside the fence along Gifford and Spalding. Old Castle will install about 2,700 feet of public sidewalk along Gifford and Spalding and dedicate right-of-way along Gifford Road. Old Castle is the industry leader in engineered building solutions such as concrete pipes and stormwater infrastructure products. They employ 27 people from the Gifford Road location. Old Castle is a CRH company, and CRH is a Fortune Global 500 company whose 80,000 employees provide building material solutions from more than 3,800 locations in 28 countries. The applicant is present should you have any questions. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval, subject to the conditions outlined within your packet.
Move for approval, subject to the conditions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? Mr. Ortiz.
Good afternoon, Mr. Malat. Appreciate your PowerPoints, as always. The neighbors to the south and to the west, you mentioned they were Bartlett residents. When I look at your package, I usually look for the response forms. There wasn't any. So I'm assuming the residents don't really care that they're putting fences up and vegetation and making it look nicer?
I would suspect they're appreciative of the fence and the landscaping that is going to come along Gifford Road.
All right, thank you. And then I'm assuming the other petition is the logo on his polo looks like the one up there. Appreciate you guys putting more money into your property and making it look a little bit nicer for us. Thank you.
Anything else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Congratulations. Item 2 is a consideration of petition 02-24, zoning ordinance text amendment, miscellaneous amendments regarding architectural design regulations, single-family detached dwelling driveways, electronic changeable copy, street graphics, and residential occupations. Mr. Malat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 5 text amendments for your consideration tonight. They are minor, mostly unrelated improvements to the zoning ordinance. Many of you know that it's long been our practice to aggregate these minor amendments under one application for efficiency, and I'll briefly summarize each of them for you. The first 2 come from a recent collaboration between staff and the Building Commission to update the building and life safety codes. During their review, the Building Commission identified 2 items that had long been in the building codes, but were more appropriately located in the architectural guidelines of the zoning ordinance. First, and more specifically, corrugated plastic siding and corrugated plastic and fiberglass roofing have been prohibited building materials since at least the adoption of the 2000 edition of the building codes. The Building Commission simply recommends that this prohibition be moved from the building code to the zoning ordinance. And another provision of the building code, also dating back to at least the year 2000 editions, required that certain rooftop mechanicals be screened. The second proposed amendment moves that requirement also from the building code to the architectural guidelines of the zoning ordinance, and it greatly simplifies the determination of the effectiveness of that screening. The third amendment is intended to help Elgin homeowners maintain their asphalt driveways. The most common driveway material in the city's newer residential subdivisions is asphalt, but as that material ages, it tends not to hold the well-defined edge that homeowners may want along lawns and landscaped beds. Many Elgin homeowners have installed brick pavers or concrete ribbons along these edges. And even though they are narrow, these surfaces often exceed the zoning ordinance allowances. This amendment would exempt these distinct but de minimis driveway edges from the vehicle use area calculation and allow the city to issue the necessary permits to these homeowners. Our fourth amendment would allow a homeowner as a permitted home-based business to provide medical care or treatment virtually, like telehealth, telemedicine, or e-counseling, insofar as persons receiving said services don't come to the residence. The home-based business regulations in the zoning ordinance do not allow for the medical care or treatment of persons, and generally persons should not come to a home or residential area for said services. But the zoning ordinance was drafted at a time before that care could be provided remotely. And when that care is provided remotely, the services are no different than any other allowable office-like business operated from the home. Finally, the Fifth Amendment would allow larger properties zoned RB residential business to include an LED panel within their monument sign. Since the general ban was revisited and LED signs were allowed along Randall Road starting in July of 2012, the city has continued to add locations where such signs may be located. Today, electronic message boards are allowed anywhere in the CF, community facility, NB neighborhood business, AB area business, ORI office research industrial, CC2 Center City, GI general industrial, and CI commercial industrial zoning districts, subject to size, operation, and location regulations. This amendment would allow the Parks and Recreation Department to replace the static sign for Johnny's Supper Club at the Bowes Creek Country Club with a sign that includes an LED panel. No size, operation, or other locational regulations would be changed by this amendment. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval.
Any questions for Mr. Malat? Ms. Alfaro?
I have a question regarding Amendment 1. So Amendment 1 had indicated they're moving the, from building code to the architectural guidelines.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the question for clarification, because in the transcript of the planning zoning, they mention its requirements. When I read guidelines, that means it's not really required. It's just something you have to kind of follow. So just clarification, is it still going to be required
To be
versus?
prohibited?
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Mr. Ortiz?
I'm going to number 3 for the driveway pavers.
Yes, sir.
So my neighbor has narrow driveways, so a lot of my neighbors put these pavers in to widen their driveway, but they did it for driveway expansion to park the 2 vehicles side to side instead of one back in front of the other. Will they, does this let them park on these now, or just this more retaining of the asphalt structure?
The reason we set the amount of allowance of the increase to hold that edge at just 2 feet was to recognize that we're not going to have code enforcement officers running around saying, are you parking on the side of that? What was your real purpose? So considering it was such a small addition that however it's used, if a car tire happens to encroach on these ribbons, it's not going to be some sort of new violation.
Okay, that's just one to make sure I want a bunch
Yeah,
of
good
neighbors
question.
saying that we're doing this and they get in trouble now. All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anything else? Ms. Powell?
Thank you. Mr. Malat.
Councilmember Powell.
Amendment number 5 regarding the LED signs. I'm assuming that this does not affect billboards
Correct.
in town, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Clerk, please call the roll.
We need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion to
Move for
approve, subject to conditions in the packet.
Second.
It's been motioned. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded for approval. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. Miscellaneous business.
Move for approval?
I ma-
Moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion?
Mayor, I
Yes.
just want to note that the C and D, the minutes were not included, and we can't verify that the changes were made that were requested. So I would like to make a motion that we remove those from this agenda and add them to the next agenda, once we could verify the changes to those minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to remove items C and D from the agenda. Clerk, any discussion? None. Clerk, please call the roll. This is for the removal of those 2 items.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. That brings us back to the miscellaneous business and approval of the agenda, of the minutes.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call a roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 9-0. The next committee of the whole meeting will be Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The next regular meeting of the Elgin City Council will be Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing property.
Committee of the
Oh,
Whole.
I'm sorry.
2 items on the regular call.
That's right, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have 2 items left on the cow. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn back to the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, we are adjourned. Entertain a motion to reconvene the committee of the whole.
Second.
Been moved and second to reconvene. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, we are back. Mr. Manager, item G.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposal to remove the revolving door on the eastern facade of the Hemmens Cultural Center. The revolving doors on this side of the center previously served as the main entrance to the building, but they've reached the end of their expected lifespan. The recently completed addition to the Hemmens Cultural Center on the north side of the building will now serve as the main entrance, making these revolving doors unnecessary. The cost to install new revolving doors far exceeds the cost for replacing the existing door openings with large glass panels that will match the building's facade.
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes. Items approved 9-0.
Item H is a purchase of services agreement with the Elgin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. The EACVB, as it's commonly known, as well as Explore Elgin Area, provides resources to encourage, foster, promote, and generate sporting events, meetings, conventions, and group travel in Elgin and surrounding communities in the northern Fox River Valley. Explore Elgin Area was formed in 1984 by the City of Elgin and local business leaders and has since grown to include 11 communities in the Fox River Valley, spanning Kane, Cook, and DuPage counties. Elgin area has over 1,400 hotel rooms and hundreds of entertainment, dining, shopping, retail, and cultural options for visitors to enjoy and experience. The EACVB encourages groups to hold meetings, conventions, trade shows, sporting events, and group travel in the 11 communities in the Elgin area. It also assists these groups with their preparations and while their meetings or events are in progress. The EACVB additionally encourages tourists to visit and enjoy the many historic, cultural, retail, dining, and recreational opportunities the Elgin area offers. One of the EACVB's primary goals is to attract overnight visitors. As such, its marketing, advertising, and promotional efforts are primarily focused within a 250-mile range of the Elgin area. The EACVB also markets to local businesses to potential visitors, along with area residents, encouraging small business support while cultivating a uniquely Elgin area experience. With the EACVB's core function being attracting visitors and informing residents, its marketing efforts for local businesses are primarily free. This recommendation seeks the approval of a 3-year purchase of services agreement with the EACVB. In attendance this evening is EACVB Board Chairperson Liz Marsden, along with President and CEO of the EACVB, Chrissy Lee Murphy. I think that we'll be hearing from the EACVB Sales Manager, Ryan Cortez, along with information from Holiday Inn Sales Manager, Lydia Caldani. So if you have the ability to come to the podium, Ms. Murphy and crew, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Talk about a superstar lineup. Hey, Liz, how are you?
Hey, everybody. My name is Liz Marston. I'm the museum director at the Elgin History Museum, and I'm also the current board chair of Explore Elgin. Chrissy Lee asked me to give a little history about the organization to get us started tonight. Okay, so for over 40 years, the city of Elgin and our local business community have successfully collaborated to operate the Elgin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, now known as Explore Elgin Area. This isn't a new initiative, but a long-standing, effective partnership that has consistently delivered results for Elgin. Explore Elgin Area is our community's direct conduit to crucial state funding through the local Tourism and Convention Bureau grant program. This program allocates state hotel tax revenue specifically for tourism promotion without a certified CVB like the Explore Elgin Area, we simply do not have access to these funds. So you really need a certified CVB. It's vital to understand that the LTCB grant program is exclusive. The only way for Elgin to receive these state hotel tax dollars for tourism promotion is through a state-certified CVB. Renewing this agreement directly ensures continued state dollars back to Elgin. Explore Elgin area undergoes rigorous annual recertification through the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. This isn't a one-time approval. It's a yearly process that demonstrates accountability, transparency, and adherence to state standards for tourism promotion. Okay, so a huge thank you to our board members present tonight. And Explore Elgin's area's excellent four-person team thrives because of a dedicated board that donates invaluable time and expertise. We've strategically assembled a board of hoteliers, event space owners, elected officials, and other key regional partners, forming a powerful alliance that directly supports our team and drives our mission forward. So now it's over to Chrissy Lee.
Thank you guys so much for having us. I know last time I was up here, we were talking about the strategic plan that so many of you guys helped us with. One of the big initiatives was to talk about community engagement and industry engagement. So we wanted to have this slide up here so you guys could see that we took it very seriously. As Liz just said, all of these commitments are done by the 3 full-time staff, is us representing and giving Elgin a seat at the table for these committees and these boards. 2 of the groups that we brought back that are exclusive to Explore Elgin, we actually brought back a marketing roundtable that meets quarterly that I would like to invite all of you to. This is something where we open up our marketing books and we show everything. It's all of our ads, this is all of our plans for the year, and we actually get feedback directly from a lot of the nonprofits and organizations in town. The other one is the Elgin Area Hotel Meeting, and this one is open to all of the hoteliers in the area where they are able to problem solve some of the issues that they're going through. We're able to brainstorm to try to attract some of these tournaments because they're our frontline people as we're bringing these people in, or these groups in. And then I also wanted to share, so reports and plans, we have worked really hard to become extremely transparent with everything that we share. So our quarterly reports detail out different stuff each quarter, trying to show you guys some of the initiatives that we go through. So any grant that we get, we put in here, we spotlight it, and we tell you guys what we're gonna do with it. These reports are not just open to the council. We actually post these on our website, and we actually send emails out so that all of our businesses and community partners are aware of what we're doing and kind of see the direction of the organization in case there's some partnerships that they would like to be included in. The other part of that is the marketing and communications plan, which was actually part of your guys' council packet tonight. This is something that our team puts together every year. A lot of thought goes into this. We put direct KPIs in here, and we are really trying to move this organization forward with our city funding, our state funding, and with any additional grants we get. So we try to be extremely transparent. And then something new, and I know that this is something that's come up multiple times, is we finally have a data contract with Datify. And I'm not gonna go into too much details. I'm gonna offer every city council person the same thing I've offered all of our businesses. We will sit down, go through all this detail with you guys in person if you guys are interested. And this is telling us the actual data behind who is coming to our community. This is fact checking us. If we're spending money in Milwaukee, are people actually going to drive in from Milwaukee? And this shows that not only are they, but we have room to grow in that market too. So this is us really making sure that we're spending the money in the right places. And part of this is actually going to allow us to run ads through Datify, which then we'll be able to track within 6 months if they come to the area. I want to stress that is extremely expensive. We're waiting to see if this is going to pay off, but it is something that if we're able to get those hard numbers, we'd like to at least do with some of the ad dollars. But it is costing about $25,000 to $30,000 per ad campaign to double check this. So we'll do that. This is through a Kane County Tourism grant that I will share a little bit more information on, but this is something we're getting really aggressive at going after the grants so that we can not just take the money you guys give us, but really make sure that we are doubling it or making sure that we have other sources behind it so that we're going beyond just the money that we are receiving from the city of Elgin. So by the numbers, and I'm going to give you guys a little heads up. So Mary is our marketing manager. She's actually at a trade show representing us right now. So normally this would be her whole spiel talking to you guys about this, but she is busy working to get us travel writers to come to Elgin. So by the numbers, this just gives you guys a recap for the year. We had almost 500,000 website page views. This is significant because this is a number that's reported to the state every quarter. This is one of the metrics they use whether or not to give us additional funding and to judge whether or not our marketing campaigns have been successful. This is up 4 times from what it was before. So these website page views, the main thing that we are getting people to click on is our local events page. So the events page overall, that if you look down there, we've maintained 2,000 plus events on this. This is something that was put in our PSA by the city to make sure that we're giving a voice to the local events on a bigger scale. So we're able to put some ad dollars behind it. This is us able to tell the story of our community through the itineraries that moves people around in a very thoughtful manner when they come to Elgin. And then Facebook, Instagram, we put those numbers on there. The other big one is the visitor guides mailed or read online. So 7,600 were distributed in the last year. This does not count all the people that have stopped in for guides. This is just the people that we've actually mailed them to or they clicked on the website to read them. This is our ad campaign that we just recently launched. So this will show you, the big one is our printed ad, and then the smaller ones are our digital ads. All of these photos that you're seeing in there were part of a grant that I'll talk about in a little bit that was in partnership with the city of Elgin. Print ads, what we're able to do this year is really capitalize on outside grants and spread the word. So what we normally do with the city of Elgin, we were able to amplify that even stronger. More times in market or getting us into new markets. Whether it's Enjoy Illinois Travel Guide, Midwest Living Magazine, Chicago Magazine, these are all big publications that are expensive, but there's a lot of value to them. So we wanted to make sure we were in there. And then digital ads, we have everything from AAA to Expedia to TripAdvisor. And with Expedia and TripAdvisor, we actually bought into a co-op with the state of Illinois where they're matching us dollar for dollar. So we put in 5,000, they put in 5,000. So we're really getting that extra stretch on that money. So this is where Mary is right now. She's actually at Midwest Travel Network Conference. And this is her opportunity to meet one-on-one with travel writers across the Midwest. And last year she went to this conference and we successfully brought in 4 travel writers for Nightmare on Chicago Street. We brought them in for the one night for Nightmare, and then we had them really exploring the community with our partners. So we had them at Grand Victoria Casino, Camp Big Timber's Haunting Night, Elgin Public Museum, all the different restaurants, just moving them around so that they're able to give us some content afterwards to tell our story. And the best part about that is most of them are actually get an update from city staff of some of the stuff happening this year, and they're gonna re-release some of their content in the upcoming months. So this is something we brought them in one time, and we're going to continue to see them. We had a couple travel writers come in a couple of years ago, probably about 3 years ago, and they're still releasing content. They had such a great time at Nightmare on Chicago Street, so we're still seeing those dividends. Our plans for fiscal year 2026 are really to increase our FAM budget line item. So when we bring these people in, we pay for part of it, but then we're also working with the businesses to help us so that they feel like they're part of the process as well. These are a couple of the groups that we are partners with. So the Fox Valley Co-op is a state certified, all the state certified CVBs that are on the Fox River. And this is our way to sell the area as a destination. It really has that power in numbers. That's how we actually got the Fox River on the front of the Illinois Travel Guide, is that partnership together. And that was last summer. Visit Chicagoland is all of the Chicago suburban bureaus buying into these larger ad campaigns. We're one of the smaller ones. They're able to get us into publications that we're not even able to normally get into on our own, but also show this magnitude of when you come to Chicago, there's so much more if you just come a little bit outside, which really benefits us. And then the last one I wanted to talk about is the weekend getaway in downtown Elgin, which we partnered with the Downtown Neighborhood Association. And this was creating an itinerary about downtown Elgin, how you can spend a whole weekend in downtown, and starting with the farmer's market, make your way around and just see the impact into our downtown businesses. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Lydia right now. And we've told you for years about how we work with the hotels, but we really want you to understand what it means to the hotels when we say that we're working with them to bring these tournaments and conferences to town. So, Lydia.
Hello, I am Lydia Caldani. I am the Director of Sales for the Holiday Inn right here in Elgin, along with Bennigan's. I recently joined the Elgin CVB maybe like a year and a half ago, so I'm relatively new to it, but I've been working with Chrissy Lee and Ryan for years prior to that. So we've been bringing new business to Elgin through the CVB's efforts, and I'm here to talk about how important those efforts are. So there's a representation of the CVB at the national trade shows for tournaments and group tours. So the CVB, whether it's Ryan, the sales manager, or Chrissy Lee, or even Mary that goes and is not only representing the Elgin area, but the hotels as well. So they are the primary contact for planners that are there, qualifying the leads, understanding the leads, and then bringing those leads to the hotels directly. So there is a term that we use in sales at the hotel, whether or not that we want to qualify something. So Ryan and Chrissy Lee kind of act as that first line of defense for me, right? So it's kind of nice. It's like I have a third person sometimes. But anyways, they can recommend not only my hotel, but all the other hotels in the Elgin area based on certain criteria for the room block size, meeting space, amenities, the location, specifically Elgin because of the sports complex that we have over here as well. And then they distribute those pre-qualified leads directly to the hotel. So like I said, when I just kind of mentioned that I almost have a third salesperson, they act as the extension of the hotel sales teams, but they also are marketing clients and individuals to pursue additional resources, right? So they proactively market the destination as a whole, attracting large conventions, corporate meetings, and tour groups. So it's not just sports, but it's also you guys have probably driven past my hotel before and you see many corporate businesses there. So they are kind of the liaison between that. Their marketing and promotion efficiencies, they take a true destination approach, right? So they craft extensive marketing campaigns, advertising, and public relations initiatives that would be, quite frankly, cost prohibitive, for a single hotel. So they are creating promotional materials, maintaining destination websites, etc., and they are the direct liaison for us. When we need help with a issue or even a connection at the city, we do reach out to Explore Elgin area. So particularly being a hotelier, you sometimes stumble across issues, right? Whether it's within the community, whether it's with local law enforcement, or just the wedding venue that's down the street, right? So they have those connections for me and can help me and my team actually get the resources and the items that we need. And they also promote our hotel and other hotels in the area, whether we have like a special rate for a snowstorm, right? Or even the details of like our Easter brunches or any current promotions. And that's just our hotel alone, let alone all the other businesses that are part of this as well. And then they do not just bring the large groups into the area. They also are there in person with booths. They have information tables, and they are extremely knowledgeable. And they are there at sports tournaments. They're there at the farmers market. They're there. There's countless amounts of things that can be done during the weekends, right? Or even during the weekdays. But they are creating just like an informational aspect that helps alleviate what the hotel might have to do in that sense. But because we're directly working with each other, it helps promote that. And for instance, they even can create welcome bags for VIPs, coupon opportunities for local businesses. So we have like the Little League Championship that's coming to this area for Elgin and South Elgin. They're helping us with all this marketing and promotional aspect of it. If we have a big new corporate company in downtown Elgin, they will work with us and reach out to us directly to make sure that our contacts at the hotel and the contacts with the company are coinciding, and it's a positive experience for everyone involved. So basically, Explore Elgin area is a welcome committee for all these visitors. And I'm greatly appreciative to be standing here in front of you guys today and have the opportunity to speak on that. And next, I believe, is Ryan Cortez. He is the sales manager for them.
All right, good afternoon, Council. I think it's very important during these presentations to remind the City of Elgin of why they need a convention and visitors bureau. And a good example of that is what's happening at the sports complex right now with their expansion project in adding more fields to their complex, giving them a greater ability to host larger and even new events that the complex never has been able to before. So when the city is undergoing a major project renovation like this one, you're going to want to make sure that you get more than what you invest in it out of it. So we are representatives of the City of Elgin and our other member communities to let the world know that the sports complex has a little bit more to offer now. And otherwise, they might not be aware that we're expanding our complex and we're adding in turf fields, updated facilities, and we can now host more than just soccer and softball at our complexes. It opens it up to a whole world of other different sports that otherwise could never be hosted here in Elgin. And we can then make sure that that complex, once the renovation is done, is being utilized every weekend it's open to maximizing the potential that that complex and those renovations have. And by doing so, that draws more visitors to the area that then has a greater economic impact on local businesses, whether it's restaurants, whether it's shops, our hotels that are here in the Elgin area. They're going to be positively impacted by that as well. So having a Convention and Visitors Bureau is having a representative or ambassador to the rest of the country about what the City of Elgin has to offer. Otherwise, those people may not be aware of the opportunities that they have here in Elgin. Now, how do we bring business to Elgin and get the word out about what Elgin has to offer, like a brand new expansion of turf fields? Well, we attend trade shows all over the country that bring in other tournament directors and event organizers that are coming from all over the U.S. as well. And the reason we like to attend those is because, number one, you get to meet these people face-to-face, because it takes a lot of emails to hear back from someone or a lot of voicemails. Here you get that face-to-face interaction with them. And when you meet these people, because they're coming from outside the state or outside the Midwest, a lot of times they have no idea where Elgin, Illinois is on a map. So when we're able to point out where we are in our proximity to a large area like Chicago, it draws a lot of interest then from people that otherwise would not have known where Elgin is. And that creates a lot more opportunity than if we were to just sit here and wait for those visitors to come to Elgin, maybe just because they're visiting Chicago for a weekend. So that is the main way that just the tourism industry interacts with each other, is by attending trade shows and conferences throughout the country and throughout the year. And we also do a lot of our own investigating as well through, let's say, LinkedIn. There's tourism platforms out there that tournament directors put their RFPs on and event organizers put their RFPs on to say, we're looking for a community and a facility that can offer A, B, and C. If your community has that, please submit a proposal and we'll consider it. A good example of that is we recently this spring partnered with Judson University to host the National Christian College Athletic Association. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the National Christian College Athletic Association, but they're a collegiate organization similar to the NAIA or the NCCAA. So we reached out to that organization because they said, we're looking for a place to host a men's volleyball championship. We've never had a national championship before in men's volleyball. We're looking for a member institution to host that on their campus. Turns out Judson's a member institution. So we brought this opportunity to Judson. Judson said, how cool is this? Let's put in a bid. And thankfully, we won that bid, and we hosted it for the first time this past spring, and we're going to host it again next spring as well. And that brought in teams from all over the country, along with Judson University, to compete for a national championship. So it's not very often that you can say Elgin is hosting a national championship and not the city of Chicago. So those are rare opportunities that we go out and find on behalf of the city and our partnering communities to then try to bring to our communities and our facilities, because when they do it, it has a positive impact on Elgin and the local businesses and the local economy as well. But I just don't go out there and sell Elgin. We also service the events that we bring to the community. So we always make sure there's someone there representing the Convention and Visitors Bureau and then also someone there that can be that go-to informational booth for all those people that are visiting Elgin because their son is playing soccer at the sports complex, or they're participating in a men's volleyball national championship at Judson University. So we are there to provide all the insight about what the Elgin area has to offer, about what there is going on that weekend. So while they're here, they're not just staying in their hotel, going to the facility, and then going back to their hotel room. That's what we're here for as well, is let people know what exactly the Elgin area has to offer in terms of recreational time as well. So we like to be there, boots on the ground whenever an event is happening, so that we can meet these people face to face, learn about their experience in staying at our hotels, traveling to our community, and what it's like working with our community partners to make sure that it's something that they're getting a positive relationship out of, so they want to keep coming back year after year after year. I can give an example. Having the mayor show up at the National Christian College Athletic Association opening banquet for the men's volleyball tournament at Judson University, that meant a lot to the NCCAA to see the mayor at that event welcoming all the teams and all the staff to our community. So they really look for that, and it means a lot when a community is willing to put in that extra effort when hosting an event. And I want to go over a couple other big sales wins that have happened just this fiscal year besides the volleyball championship over at Judson University. We have the Deep Dish Classic, which is a hockey tournament hosted at Canlin Ice Arena in West Dundee. They call it the Deep Dish Classic because it's their first tournament in Chicago. And when they said they want to come to the Elgin area, they said, we need to partner with the local pizza company because all these people are coming from outside the area. They never had deep dish pizza before. So we reached out to all the different pizza restaurants that are here in the Elgin area, and it was Randall Roadhouse just down the street that was willing to participate and offer a discount on deep dish pizza to all the hockey players and their families that are traveling to Elgin for that weekend to participate in that tournament. And I can tell you right now, the Comfort Suites, Randall Roadhouse said they'd never gotten so many delivery calls to that hotel before outside of that weekend, and it was because that tournament was being hosted just down the street at Canlin Ice, and many of the teams and their families were staying at the Comfort Suites here in Elgin off of Randall Road. So it's little things like that that go a long way, both for a local restaurant like Randall's Roadhouse and then for those tournament organizers because they're bringing that tournament back again this fall. We also partner with the Grand Victoria Casino because they host the World Series of Poker 2 times a year during their circuit tour, once in the fall and once in the spring. And so that brings a lot of poker players to our area, not just locally, but from throughout the Midwest. And so the casino wants to make sure that they are best prepared to host all these players because it's a 2-week-long event. Players come and go throughout those 2 weeks. So they want to make sure that when people are coming here, they want to keep coming back and participating in Elgin's turn to host that tournament throughout its circuit tour. And that's a big partnership of ours that we developed a great relationship with the casino because of. And it's a good way to show how a organization has utilized our assets and our capabilities to really improve the event that they are going to host and to help so that they can even host that event in general. And some future upcoming exciting events that are happening later this year is Elgin and South Elgin are partnering together to host the Little League State Championship, which the winning team from that tournament will represent the state of Illinois in the Midwest region. And if they win that, they then go to Williamsport in Pennsylvania to compete in the Little League World Series that you see on ESPN every August. So this is a really significant event coming to our community, and we are partnering with the Illinois Little League State Organization to make sure that when players come here, number one, they have a place to stay, but number two, what's really big to them is they want to make sure what else is there to do in Elgin while they're visiting. Because these people, they bring their aunts, their uncles, they bring the rest of the family, they bring the rest of the brothers and sisters, so they're looking for something to do besides just watch little Johnny play baseball. And so we're presenting all the other opportunities there are to do things here in the Elgin area and work with those businesses to offer them discounts to give them incentives to go there and not Schaumburg, Illinois, or not go to Rosemont or Chicago or Rockford, but to stay here in Elgin and do things that Elgin has to offer while they are visiting. And then lastly, later this year, the Hill BMX, they won a bid to host the BMX State Championship for the first time ever. This is a really big deal for them and for our community because this brings about 500 BMX riders from throughout the state to the Elgin area, and they're all going to need a place to stay. They're going to need a place to put their bikes for safety when they're not using them, and they're going to need things to do when they're not riding. So we're working with the Hill BMX to help prepare for this very large state championship because they never hosted it before. So this is going to be their first time. So they need some help in bringing that tournament here and making it a success so that they can keep hosting it for years going forward. And with all the events we've hosted so far, it's generated an estimated over 3,000 hotel room nights. And just a reminder, we have about 1,400 hotel rooms here in Elgin. So by bringing events here, it's maximizing the amount of nights people are staying in our hotels and making sure that when people are coming to Elgin, they're staying here in Elgin. They're staying locally, and they're not staying somewhere else because they did their own research and saw that there's hotels right next door to the airport in Rosemont. Or maybe they wanted to stay in the city because they think Chicago instead of just Elgin. So those are some of the big sales wins we've had and that are upcoming later this year that you are all welcome to attend if you get the chance. None of them require a ticket. And then lastly, we are re-entering the group tour market. So that's primarily bus tours, and that's bringing large buses through our community that might stay a night or two as they travel throughout, let's say, the Midwest. And while they're here, they want to experience what the Elgin area has to offer. So it's touring some of our historical facilities, some of our architectural wonders, and then also dining at our local restaurants and establishments that aren't just a Denny's and an IHOP. You know, they want to go to see what's locally here that the Elgin area has to offer that they can't find anywhere else while they're staying in town. This is a market that we had not been too strong in since the pandemic, and we believe now it is time to re-enter that market. And we started doing so by attending some of these trade shows I mentioned to meet with these bus tour operators and planners in person because they're coming, again, from all over the country to these trade shows to let them know what Elgin has to offer and get Elgin on their radar in the end of 2025 and 2026 as well, so we can start welcoming them in large capacities as soon as next year. And with that, I'll hand it back over to our CEO, Chrissy Lee.
And then we just wanted to end with showing you guys some of the grants. And I know that we send you guys lots of emails when we post these online. We're really excited about them. But the Illinois Travel and Tourism Grant just completed. This was one that we actually partnered with the city of Elgin and the Parks and Rec Department on. We had 2 photographers, 6 weeks, and thousands of photos that were captured during this. This was all something that was paid for by the grant and our partnerships together. And this is all stuff that is now available to all organizations that are partners of the city. So the Chamber, the DNA, they're all written into the contract so they have access to this. We also did campaign dollars in there for the weekend in downtown Elgin. This matched the money that we put in, the money that the DNA put in, and it also matched money from the Fox Valley Co-op. The other really exciting one that we've really been talking about for 3 years, we have a 3-year contract with them for this grant of $790,000. This is what is paying for Datify. So we get this through the end of 2026. All of this money has to be used on ads. They're very specific, either print or digital ads. So we're taking stuff that's approved in the marketing communications plan you guys have and extending that out with this additional money, making sure that we're strategic. One of the exciting parts about this is this money can actually be spent here locally. So we have been doing a lot of campaigns to try to get the word out about the events, which is something you guys tasked us with having. So we have ads running right now for some of the big summer events that are not just the city events, but also the ones that you guys are partnering on for the sponsorships. And then the last two, what we realized is Ryan's spending all this time going out and getting these large tournaments, and then we're having trouble keeping them in Elgin all the time. Sometimes they want to go to some of our surrounding communities. So our board set aside a certain amount of money for the last couple of years that is only being invested to try to capture those people and get them to stay in Elgin hotels. And it is specific to Elgin hotels because it was Elgin hotel tax. So what we're telling these tournaments is if you stay in our hotels when you come for these tournaments, we will then rebate you back some of the money. So it's our incentive money to make sure that we're capturing that money, the tax dollars, here in Elgin. The last one we got is a state grant, tourism incentive grant. This allows us to go after those very large tournaments, 300 plus, and then we're able to incentivize them with some of this money. There's a lot of rules behind it, so it must be new business or business that is about to leave Illinois for a different state, and it cannot compete with any other grant award winner. So in summary, we've really tried to spend the last couple of years of really making sure that we are using the city's money in the best way possible by bringing in additional funds and really amplifying our message through some of these. So with that, Mayor.
Any questions for Chrysalie and her team? Mr. Dixon.
Thank you. I really appreciate the presentation. Wonderful job. I was able to participate in the plan a couple of years ago, I think it was, and so I was able to spend some time over there with you guys and give you my feedback. And I just want to, as I said then, you guys just continue to do an excellent job. So I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm definitely going to be supporting this tonight, and I don't think you're going to have a problem overall. I do have some questions, and hopefully we can get some answers. Okay. All right. So, a couple of things I do want to point out. I really like the structure of your organization. You guys are a lean machine. I see you guys zipping around the city all the time, right? So that if that's downtown, if that's out at events, just randomly, you guys are always working. And so I just want to let you know that even though you don't promote that part of yourself or talk about it, probably a lot, we see it. So keep up the great work. I also want to commend you for your community involvement. And you had a slide where you talked about all the organizations that you volunteer for. And it goes both ways. So there are other organizations that sit on your board. We have people from our city, of course, and city council that are sitting on your board. But they're also just people who are best suited for a lot of these positions that are subject matter experts in the right position. And so you just have the right synergy in the room when you're making decisions strategically and on a day-to-day basis. So so continue to do that. I love the way you guys cheerlead for the city. That representation is really huge. We don't talk about how great we are enough, and that's basically your job to do so. I love the idea about the tours. We're out of COVID. I think that's an excellent, thing to do, especially given our housing stock or our historical home, as I'm looking at Liz over there. And so, make sure that you put the Kimball House on that tour, okay? Another thing, the grants and transparency. I do get those emails all the time, but I'm gonna be honest with you. You can't tell good news enough, so keep sending them, right? Because when I see that level of transparency and that level of just touch, right, I know that you guys are doing all the things in the background to make that go, and so that sends a signal to me as a community member and a city council member that, this is a PSA we're not worried about. You guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right, I did have some questions. Okay, let me get to those. All right, so there's 11 organizations, I believe, 10 or 11 organizations that the CVB represents.
11 communities.
11 communities, I'm sorry. Not organization, communities. Well, they actually are organizations, but I'm not going to go there. But anyways, there are 11, but only 2 are paying members. So I know you're going to get this. I think I ask this question every year. Why isn't everyone else chipping in? I know they may not all have hotels necessarily, but they're getting value from you guys in one way or another. So, 1, why aren't they chipping in? And then 2, is it possible to have some type of model that allows them to participate in proportion to their population?
So the way that we're funded on the state side is every year when we get recertified, every single community has to write us a letter of support. The community or the state then looks at all those, and those are taken into account in our final number. It's not just hotel tax. All that goes into there. Obviously, the bulk of our money is hotel tax significantly. It's only probably 5% that is not based on hotel tax. But that's why we want those other communities. And we could charge them, but honestly, Elgin's the one that benefits. West Dundee benefits. They have 2 hotels. Elgin benefits significantly because we have the most hotels here. So when we're telling a regional story and we're not worrying about borders, we're just worrying about where our hotels are and getting those people back to our hotels, Elgin's capturing that hotel tax. So that's why we haven't focused as much right now about charging. I mean, a lot of the communities are smaller. They do benefit, but if you look on our social media, if you look on our web, we are very cautious and aware of how many times we're talking about Elgin. We're very aware of making sure that Elgin is the large city, and we're telling the story as a whole, but Elgin is going to shine.
Okay, all right. And I believe I think the word or the name of the company was Datify. Can you go back to that PowerPoint? Okay. So in that Datify, is that also a tool that's capturing the economic impact of some of these events, when it comes to the hotels and restaurants and, and whatever other expenses or revenue that comes with it?
Through Datify, we're able to capture a limited amount of how many times people are using their credit card. We're able to capture that a little bit. We're actually going to sit down with a couple of the different events and see if there's a way to make it make sense for them. It is not Placer AI where we can track every single place people go to. So it's more bigger picture, but we do have some of those numbers, and it is something that, we've opened it up and said we will sit down with any organization that wants to talk to us and try to benefit as long as we have this contract.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that you all are moving in that direction. I would say that's probably, for me, an area of opportunity if I was to look at this PSA and say I would like to see more of capturing that economic, the impact to even better just tell your story. So we know that it's very impactful. We know that you're doing the work. Let's just have the information a little bit more. Let's drill it down to be able to tell the story. So happy that you're doing it. But I say this about most of our PSAs, even with our own events like Nightmare on Chicago Street. I think DNA does not think. DNA has a software called
Size Up?
Size Up, that's what it is, Size Up. I don't know if that works for this or not, but.
Well, and this is something, so we're actually going to sit down with DNA and have a conversation about events. When it's an event that we're talking about, when Ryan put that number up for economic impact, that was over $1 million.
Yeah.
That is actual business that we brought in, and we know for sure we have those rooms. We don't have that necessarily, like Nightmare on Chicago Street. Last year, we had a hockey tournament that weekend that sold out over 900 hotel rooms. So we can't really separate the two for Nightmare on Chicago Street because that's definitely people that are booking Expedia. That's people that are going like kind of on the third-party routes, and that's very hard to track, and our hotels will admit that.
Okay, all right. The next thing would be the hotel, the number of rooms that we have available. Are we in need? Do you feel like we're in need from everything that you see and like the swath of events coming down? Do we need more hotels? Like it sounds like we run out of space when.
If you're asking me, yes. If you're asking Lydia, no. But
okay.
we need a very specific type of hotel. And what we really need is we're losing business to surrounding communities that have the entertainment districts.
Okay.
We really need hotels that have stuff around them.
Okay.
And kind of build that side of it. But we do need hotels that are able to go after these tournaments. When we bring in a hockey tournament, there's only so many hotels that'll bid on it.
Right.
So we lose some of that right off the top. So we need those ones, and extended stays are not usually the type that are going to respond to any of our sports leads, so we automatically lose all of those hotel rooms each time.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Holiday Inn, but yes, we do.
If you bring me another one that has 200 plus rooms.
Right, there you go.
I'll be okay with it.
Okay. Yeah. And so, just out of curiosity, not because I think it's necessary, but Holiday Inn, you guys obviously benefit from this. And I'm not asking you the question, I'm just referencing. Do those member organizations pay a fee, a membership fee or anything like that? Similar to, no? Okay.
Nope, not a chamber. We used to have the membership just like a chamber would, but it was one of those where we started competing with the chamber to get people to join, and it was at a disadvantage, not only to the businesses, but for a visitor, they just want the best experience. If we're already getting hotel tax and we can pay for these type of marketing opportunities, let's just tell the best stories so Elgin looks the best it can look.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's all I got. Keep up the wonderful work. I'm going to support this 3 years on the PSA. I think that's the standard. Anything else always will put an organization in shaky water. And so I'm a firm believer in the 3-year benchmark. So great job. Keep it up.
Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you for the presentation and sitting through 2 meetings with us.
Of course.
Mr. Dixon asked most of them, but the only thing I'm going to hit on again is I appreciate your board makeup. How you have Ms. Martinez is on there, people from West Dundee, the Chambers on there, DNA members on there. So I appreciate how you have like a plethora of different people and different ideas. It's like a melting pot to make you guys even better than what you are. So I appreciate that. The question I have is, in the agenda packet, you have like the sports section and then you got the tourist section. And you kind of like hit on the grants that you get, which I really love that you're going out and getting money to try to match what we give you. So for the DCEO initiative grant for like the sports and the trade show attendance, and then the one for Kane County ARPA, which you kind of already touched on, like, was that really competitive to get those and you just Explore Elgin's really good and they're able to get that, or is it not as competitive? Like,
It's extremely hard to get those. The incentive grant, we had a bunch of the state certified bureaus. There's 37 of us across the state of Illinois, and I think only 8 of us got that grant because you could get up to $1 million. We only went with 250. All of these grants that we have in here, we have to front load the money and then we get reimbursed.
okay.
So we did 250, but they're very competitive. And then once we get them, we're then competing with our other, like Meet Chicago Northwest. We have a tournament coming up with them that we're not able to use that grant, but it would be a perfect thing. But it's like, there's a lot of rules behind it that we have to stay on top of.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a loaded question, pretty much to make you guys look even better that it's competitive and you're actually getting the money that you need to keep your operation going. So
Well,
I
thank you.
appreciate it. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. That was a great job, team. So I was here for the last contract, and we had some conversations a while back, but I just wanted to, for the sake of the community, highlight some of the alignments that we have, which I think is really impressive and important to compound some of these returns. So, looking at your strategic plan, some of your objectives is continue to support expansion of tournament-grade sports facilities, which council has helped out in that capacity, so that's good to see alignment there. The development of festivals and events, which over the past few years, we've grown that catalog from the city side. Supporting the reinvigoration of the riverfront and bike trail. We just recently got a grant to connect the corridor at Kimball. Encourage local government and states to enhance corridor development. So we've had some of the projects. We were talking about some of the funds that came in today. And just generally collaborating to support the community. So I like to see when these documents that come together years ago start to grow legs and take off. So I just wanted to give a shout out there. That's great. On a couple other specific items that just popped up, I really like the rebate program that you did. It sounds like a nice way to win people over and get them to have some stickiness here. One thing in the PSA that kind of caught my attention, I don't know if it's the biggest bang for the buck, but can you tell me more about attracting film productions here? Because I know Elgin's had a couple that popped up that were pretty cool, like Fargo. Is there anything on the horizon, or what's that process like?
That was actually something that was, laughing, Barb. That was something that was put in by city staff. And what it is, we're not going after them. There's grants out there for that it's not stuff that we can touch right now, unfortunately. But when they do reach out, like we've had people from the Chicago Fire reach out to us asking for like even scenes to like film stuff.
Okay.
So at this point with the team that we have, we're more just addressing the requests as they come in.
Okay, just a curiosity of mine. And then you touched on it a little bit, the idea of kind of overlapping efforts. That was something that I believe I brought up at the last contract. And it sounds like you had mentioned you had some competition with the chamber. You're having some meetings with DNA for events. So I think you've already kind of generally touched on that. Was there any specific areas that you identified that continue to be kind of a weird overlap between the organizations that can be improved on?
No. And honestly, we got rid of our membership in 2017, I think it was. So that's when that kind of dissipated with the chamber. But no, we have a relationship with the organizations, but because we're all three so differently structured in the way that we are going after stuff, we don't step into the economic development as far as trying to bring businesses in. So I would say there's not a lot of crossover at that point. It's just more coming together to tell Elgin's story so we all benefit.
All right. And then the last thing, that I want to encourage all the organizations that work with the city. We're working on refining and honing our chatbot that's on our website, and I imagine those deployments can happen elsewhere. So as you're working with your teams and thinking about how can we get word out, I think there's going to be opportunities in the future for, say, if we, the city, contract with, for example, CityBot, there's nothing stopping your organization from potentially handing us information that we can throw in there. So visitors to our site can get the information fresh from your source and then be redirected over in kind of like a natural language way. So it's not anything for right now, but just something to keep in mind. So that's the end of my list.
Well, and just really quick, so we actually presented to Elgin 311 department. We were presented to them a couple times, making sure that as they're answering calls, they're aware of what we do for the community and they're able to direct stuff towards us. So we have noticed like the increase in traffic from the city pages to us now.
That's great to hear.
So it is more just keeping in communication and like making sure that we're all pushing in the same direction.
Great.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ms. Powell.
Thanks, Chrissy Lee and team. I also want to give a shout out to your unpaid volunteer, Mike, Chrissy Lee's husband, who is at all events, carrying chairs, just doing all kinds of stuff. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you. But I also want to kind of highlight some things that you do. And again, great job with the presentation. But probably some of the things that Elgin residents can utilize you for that folks maybe might not think about. Last year, my son graduated from high school, yay. And I reached out to you and your team, said, hey, I've got friends and family coming in from out of town, need, a block of hotel rooms and, all kinds of stuff for them to do. Obviously, I could tell them all those things and tell them all of my favorite restaurants, but can you just put it in like a little goodie bag so I can just give it to them and they can explore this stuff on their own, because I've got a whole lot of stuff going on. And it was great. They stayed at the Holiday Inn. They loved going to Bennigan's. It's right there. So, if you're having a family reunion, a graduation, a wedding, if you're an Elgin resident, Explore Elgin area is here for you too. And I don't think that that's something that people always think about. Utilizing you for those types of things. So thank you for that assistance. Excited to see some of the events that you've been able to lure to Elgin, the data that we're getting now, the collaboration and partnerships. I think someone else brought that up. Again, you guys are everywhere in the community. You help other organizations and they in turn are willing to come and help you. So I really appreciate that, and I'm just excited to see the investment that we are making in Explore Elgin pay dividends, for years to come. So definitely in support of the PSA, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple little things you have going on your website right now. If you could talk about the taco trail and the coffee trail.
Yes. So we currently have a taco trail and a coffee trail going. Those are open to all businesses. One of the things that we heard from the small businesses post-COVID was they don't have the staff to sit there and do passports or anything. So we invested in technology to do a digital passport. So someone can go to one of these businesses, do like a screenshot or check in with their information. And that was opened up to every business within our region. This is our way to like move people around organically based on something that they appreciate. And we've had multiple visits. Councilman Martinez actually went door to door with Mary and helped talk to some of the taco places, just trying to get people excited about it. And this is something that we know the businesses, once they see the momentum going, will eventually end up signing up for. We just want to give them time. But yeah, so if they go to 8 of the different coffee places, they get a mug. We're about to launch a burger trail in July. We're really just trying to focus on the food and get people moving. So
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? A couple of things. There's going to be a new youth soccer association coming to Elgin.
Yes.
And we're going to have indoor soccer. They're going to have down on McLean Boulevard. So that creates opportunities for you to bring in tournaments. We're going to have more soccer fields out at the sports complex. At the volleyball tournament, one of the things that struck me is talking to the teams that were there, and Dr. Kroom brought up, we had 4 teams. 1 team came by train, 1 team flew in, 1 drove, and 1 walked. Judson was in the final 4, so they walked. But their parents came with them, and I think we need to look at it as Elgin is bringing that money from out of state.
Yeah.
And it's coming, it's not just people driving down here from Wheeling or someplace like that to come to a softball tournament anymore. Now we're bringing people from outside, and that creates finance and new money that comes into Illinois. So I think that's an important thing to share. At the State of the City address last fall, I talked about creating a partnership with and more than just asking the Grand Victoria Casino to expand and look at putting a hotel and possibly a convention center on their property, in partnership with the City of Elgin. What can the Convention and Visitors Bureau do to help? And help convince them that there's more than just their day stay now, that we have people that are willing to come in. You talked about their poker tournaments.
Right,
That's
exactly.
becoming a big thing. Their sports betting becomes a big thing. Chicago's a sports mecca. Why can't we do things like that and convince them that that's a good investment for them?
Well, and right now, we currently do not have a convention center connected to a hotel. The largest property we have is
Right.
the Holiday Inn. So we're able to do smaller meetings, but we're not even in really the conventions market. There's all kinds of trade shows we should be going to if we had that kind of property. And we've always told, Mary Lou was on our board for years, we've told them for years that if they're ready to do that, we would move forward with them and help them. And that is something that would not be in competition with Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn would actually benefit from that. All of our hotels would benefit from having a hotel connected to a convention center. So we
Yeah,
could
I think-
definitely help with that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely, and that's, I did trade shows and things like that in a previous life, and when you try to put in vendors and things like that into a conventional hotel, it's a tight fit. And you can't do it, you can't have meetings because the vendors are in those spaces. So we don't have anything like that.
Right.
And I don't know if the casino's interested in that portion. That was a discussion that went on a number of years ago. But I think it's time for us to push that along a little bit. And their competition is reinvesting in their property big time
Significantly,
around
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And they need to start thinking of that too, and I want to push them into doing that. And I think that you guys can help and point out that this is not just about bringing gamblers here to spend the evening. This is about bringing people here for the weekend and families coming here looking for a place to stay. I think that's important. It'll bring in that kind of situation will create a synergy for all the other hotels as well.
Correct.
So I think that's an important thing to do. Ms. Martinez, I'm afraid of you.
Mayor,
Thought you had a fist up.
No. I just wanted to say a few things. I have always said that Elgin has the capacity of one day being the sports mecca. You know, we're in a great location, and I think things are falling into position with the expansion of the sports complex, because sports isn't like it was when we were growing up, you know, neighborhood sport. Nowadays, people are doing club sports, right? And people play club baseball, soccer, volleyball, and they actually go to other states, you know. It'd be nice to capture them here and have them here. And I think, Ryan, you mentioned about the BMX nationally, you know, and for them to come here to Elgin. I remember going to the sports complex and I saw a big old trailer and a whole family came out, and it was like 3 different generations, you know. That's why I've always been very protective how important it is to have a quality BMX track, because that's hard to maintain and to have. And but what I want to do is recognize you, Chrissy Lee, because I remember before you were the CEO, right? And to see you grow and to see what you've done with the Visitors Bureau, it's like incredible. You know, you've represented us so well. I'll tell you, I just came back from vacation and I was in an international airport, and I had the sweatshirt that said Elgin, and this lady comes up to me, and she says, "Oh, girl, you're from Elgin?" I'm like, "Yeah," and she started talking about the farmers market, and she started talking about how they come here to, Elgin, and how the library, and they were talking about her and her daughter love coming here, and they do things. And I said, "Well, where are you from?" And she said, "Naperville." And I was like, wow, and that they come here, and she said that she felt very safe here. And, it's funny because we're always they always bash us, and that we're turning this around, and that we can go ahead and talk about this and drown out the negativity, and I think we're getting to that, and thank you for doing that. And I enjoy, this is one of the few meetings, well, no, it's one of the meetings that I enjoy going to because we meet often, you keep us so informed, and one of the things that you always say is that you want to know when you're doing something wrong to correct it.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. I think it's very important that you say that and you do it and that you keep this informed. And I'm always like, okay, so what's next, and what's going on? And that you're trying to always find grants and that you explain to us, yeah, we think it's free money, but it's not. There's always things that when you get this money, there's always things attached, And then to hear when we have these audits, a lady who we have, I know it's expensive, but she's always complimenting you of what kind of books you keep. And so that makes me feel really good. Let me see, anything else? No, I can go on and on, but I won't. So thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I think we need a motion.
Move for approval.
Been moved and second for approval for a 3-year contract, a 3-year purchase of service agreement with Convention and Visitors Bureau. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro,
Abstain.
Dixon,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
I guess I abstain too. Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 8-0 with 1 abstention. Announcements from the council. Mr. Ortiz.
I just want to give Kevin a shout out back there, always holding the fort down. He does the dirty work for us and keeps us safe, so thanks, man.
Anything else? Alfaro.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Elgin Pride. They did an amazing festival this past weekend. It was a great time seeing the community all come together. Great job to Elgin Pride for putting that together and everyone that supported that. In addition, I wanted to give a shout out to the Elgin History Museum for having their Racing Borders, if I remember correctly, art exhibit in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you so much for doing that. That was an amazing event at the Kimball House.
Okay. Ms. Powell, did you have your hand up?
Thank you. Also wanted to give a shout out to the Elgin Pride Parade and Festival organizers. Very good turnout. Several of us were in attendance or either in the parade. It was a beautiful day. So I just want to, acknowledge the important work that they do in our community around inclusion because it still matters. Also wanted to give a shout out. We had the proclamation today recognizing Juneteenth and the importance of Juneteenth. So I'm representing Juneteenth today with my T-shirt and Pride with my button. So just asking people to remember all of that this month during the month of June. There are a number of events taking place over the next couple of weeks around Juneteenth and around Pride. I'm going to be a judge for a drag show at the Hemmens at the end of this month, so come on out and enjoy, and definitely appreciate all the work that's done in our community to make people feel like they belong. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say a shout out to the Lodge. I don't know, I just want to refresh your memory that the Lodge is a couple, Mary Alice and Michael Benoit. They are from Bartlett, and they bought 18 what is it called? 18 Villa Street. And they call it the lodge because it was the Elks Lodge. And what they're doing here, I followed them planning and zoning, and they came to us because they asked for some TIF money, and they invested $2.6 million. And I think it's important because here they came from Bartlett. They invested this money in Elgin, and what they're doing here is just incredible. They are bringing the arts here. It's right here to Elgin. They see what the potential is, and what they're looking at is like on the first floor to increase a seating capacity of 300 seats. They also say that they can help with the Elgin Art Show. If anybody's gone to the Elgin Art Show, it's here at the professional building, but they can accommodate 70 to 90 seats, and it would be a better venue. I was just so disappointed that they had their opening on Friday the 30th, and nobody announced it. It was nowhere, you know. And here, this is something that we're always touting about our arts venue, and this is a big deal, and I just happened to hear about it. Unfortunately, I was out of town, and I wasn't able to attend, but the people that did attend, they were just raving. I mean, they're going to have things like, for example, the Lion King Jr., you know, the Spring Awakening, the Next to Normal. They're going to have things that they're bringing it to Elgin. So I just wanted to have a shout out and say thank you very much to this couple to come from Bartlett and bring it here to Elgin. Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else from the council? Anything from staff?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purchase, discuss the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, exempt from the Open Meetings Act.
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Alfaro?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, we are adjourned. Have a good evening.